Hello, ladies and gentlemen. People often ask me as they enter into the specialty coffee world, where do I start? Which coffee do I buy? How can I tell what's in the bag from looking at what's on the bag? I don't know what I like. Where do I start? This is a common conversation, a common problem, a common question. I'm going to do my absolute best to break this down for y'all today so that we can begin to have an understanding of how to buy coffee. First things first, I assume in general, if someone's talking to me or if you're here on our channel, that you have an interest in specialty coffee rather than like a generic, super bitter, dark, more traditional commodity type coffee where you don't know where it comes from or what it is. So just to touch on what is specialty coffee, I'm going to do a tiny little description about the general principles surrounding micro roasters or specialty coffee roasters. I will break it down better in a different video where I do a more in-depth comparison of the difference between a commodity type coffee roastery or a specialty roastery. But just today, a little bit about the principles of specialty coffee. So if you're talking to me and you want to know about specialty coffee, how to begin to buy some lovely, tasty, different origins. Firstly, we in specialty coffee primarily understand that the quality of a coffee is created at origin. So it's created on the farm. Therefore, you are looking for ethical, sustainable, traceable, transparent coffee. There's definitely more to it. This is just more or less off the top of my head. You want to be able to know where the coffee comes from, which country, which microclimate, how that coffee is processed. Does it have any certifications? Can I see where it is on a map? Could I go there if I wanted to? That's pretty cool. The ethical, so also how sustainable is this coffee? Environmentally, for the people that work in it, part of any cooperatives, is it doing anything interesting or important on the ground where the people are working with this coffee? Is this business of the green coffee working to make life better for the people who are working in it? Is it environmentally friendly? So the best thing that you can do in order to kind of find this out, to find out this information, is to get to know your local caffeine dealer. The only way you can do that is by going to the coffee shops or the roasteries and having conversations with the people that work behind the bar and or the roasters themselves. So like, ideally, you want to have this type of information. I'm potentially making it sound more complicated than it is. You literally just show up and you can just ask about the coffee and basically you just watch and see how the people respond. This is brilliant. This is brilliant for us as an industry and it's brilliant for yourself as someone who is getting to know this, because the more that we have these types of conversations, the more it pushes us as an industry to do better and to be better. In general, your roasters should know this, and the people that are representing the coffee, they should know. So if someone says, I want to know about this Colombia coffee, how ethical is it? Like, oh, if we don't know, amazing. We're going to go find out, research. Brilliant. So first things first, how to know what you're buying. Where do I start? Make friends with your local roastery. Shop around, go to a few of them because you'll probably have a few people nearby that are roasting coffee. Ask questions, find out. So that's the first step. Micro roasteries. Another thing that I would say for me as someone who works in coffee, the most special thing, one of the most special experiences that I've had in working in this industry is the opportunity to comparatively taste. So in wine, here in Europe, it's a lot more common for people to talk about a wine tasting, or like you go to a fancy restaurant and you have a degustation with like different wine selections and offerings. Coffee world is not exactly the same, but it's possible to do the same. All coffees from different countries and different types of coffees from different origins, microclimates, altitudes, processing methods, varieties of coffee tree, they all have very different flavors. It's so cool. It's so much fun. So one of the most important things, one of the coolest things that I've experienced in the coffee world is this ability to comparative taste. In coffee, this is called a cupping session. Sometimes I swap that out with tasting because I find that like a lot of the people in my life laugh whenever I say that, which is like, come on guys, seriously? But yeah, so anyway, in coffee, it's called a cupping session. So we get together, we would have, if we've got these 6 coffees here, we would have 6 different samples of each of the coffees on a table. We simultaneously pour water on all of them so they're the same temperature, brewed for the same time. We clean the coffee and then we would taste it. And tasting them all next to each other gives us a much deeper understanding of what it is that we actually like and of the potential characteristics, the potential flavor characteristics, the differences between each coffee possible. It's so cool. If you live in a major city, these will be happening frequently. Just do like a search for a coffee cupping, get into it. We offer them frequently as well down here in the Algarve. So if any of you are from our region, keep an eye out for Beanie Bunch, and we'll probably also do some cuppings with these guys as well, the studio here. So like there are often coffee cuppings going on where you are. If you live in a main center, absolutely. Google it, have a look. Find your local specialty coffee roasters and see when they have cuppings going on. If they don't have any booked, write them a message and be like, guys, I need to do a cupping session. Let me know when's your next one. Again, talking to people, putting pressure on so that we can do and be better as an industry. I will love you forever. If you're not living in a major center, you'll probably have some going on around you every now and again, like within a couple of hours distance from where you are. I highly recommend this just as a life experience in general. It's mind-blowing. It's one of the coolest experiences within the coffee industry that you could possibly have. And it will enlighten you very much about what to get. So first things first, become friends with your coffee roaster. 2, get yourself to a cupping session. This will give you a great understanding of what you personally like, so that you can communicate that with your roaster when you get there. Helps us out a lot. So once you have an idea of what it is that you like, you need to connect that to understanding the labels of your coffee bags so that you can communicate to your local roaster or to your local barista what are the types of flavors that you enjoy, and therefore which origin is that, which type of coffee tree is that, and which processing method. Ideally, you want to find one that's transparent so that you can have as much of an idea of what's going on behind the scenes as possible. How are you going to brew the coffee at home? Do you need a darker roast or do you need a lighter roast? If it's coffee filter, like filter coffee, you're going to be brewing on a batch brew or any kind of slow coffee method. If you're looking for espresso at home or a mocha pot, I would recommend getting an espresso roast. So this, you have a little bit less time to extract all the flavors that you want. So first things first, which roast type? Darker, lighter. Filter coffee, go for filter, which is your V60, AeroPress, Chemex, Infusion, if you drink it grandpa styles, espresso machine, mocha pot. Or if you like more bitter coffee, espresso roast. Next step, roast date. Every single specialty roaster will put the date of roast on the bag, not the expiry date, the date of roast. So here we are with the 9th of October. That means that this coffee is like a week and 2 days old, something like this. Ideally, if you're asking me, if you're gonna only go through 250 grams of coffee within, let's say, a month, I would recommend to buy the coffee as fresh as possible, understanding that the coffee needs to rest for a few days before you can use it. If you're using for espresso, on an espresso machine, it needs to rest for a week, roughly, before you use it. Every coffee is different, disclaimer. Espresso coffee needs to rest for roughly a week. Filter coffee ideally will rest for about 4 days before you start using it. Fresh as possible so that it will last as long as possible. You want to try and use all of this coffee up for best results within 6 weeks, maximum 2 months. Coffee never goes off, so you can continue to use it, but a lot of those flavors are gonna become stale or not, like it's gonna peak at some stage within that 2 month time and then start to degrade. So you want ideally as fresh as possible, use it within 4 days up until 2 months, and you can check the date on your bag here. Ideally, you want a grinder. Ideally, you're gonna grind this coffee at home. That time that I just told you is based upon whole beans. As soon as you grind that coffee, I used to teach peeps back in the Aussie days, I can taste a noticeable difference after 5 minutes. As soon as you've ground that coffee, a lot of those volatile aromas are going to disappear and the flavor becomes more flat, and of course it will stale much faster. So you want to try and use that coffee really quick. Yeah, so I would say ultimately it's that. How am I going to brew it at home? Do I want a darker or lighter roast? What type of flavors do I like? Hopefully you're going to go to a coffee cupping session so you'll understand all of the different, like in general, more earthy, chocolatey, coffee flavored coffee will come from Latin America, potentially Southeast Asia, and more fruity, complex acidity, floral coffees come from Africa. If you get a washed coffee, in general, it will be cleaner. And if you get a natural coffee, in general, it will have more like potentially overripe, more round kind of, the acidity will be a little bit muted. It'll be a bit more fuller in the mouth. It really depends on what you like. This is, again, a gross oversimplification to a world full of flavor potential. But yeah, get to a cupping session, taste it, know your roaster, talk to them, go to a cupping, learn your ideal flavor, then choose your roast type, choose your origin based on the type of flavor that you want, and ideally grind it for the brew that you're going for. I really hope that this helped. I'm not sure. Bless. Yeah, please. If you have any questions, like leave them below, and potentially I'll do another video to like explain any of the questions that come up, as I'm sure there's many. But I do hope that helped somehow. I love ya. Come back next week for another explanation, hopefully clearer and more concise. Bye.